What's up, everyone? So I know a lot of you have been asking about The Last Witch Hunter 2, and with all the uncertainty around whether we're actually getting a sequel, I totally understand the confusion. Let me break down what's really going on with this potential follow-up. The original film's reception. So first, let's talk about why there's so much uncertainty in the first place. The original Last Witch Hunter was honestly a fun but pretty forgettable fantasy adventure that really suffered from poor reviews. This has brought into serious question whether Vin Diesel would even want to return for more, and more importantly, whether studios would be willing to invest in a sequel. Vin Diesel's sequel track record. Now here's something interesting about Vin Diesel's relationship with sequels. Given his massive long-running success with the Fast and Furious franchise, it's actually hard to imagine there was ever a time when he was reluctant to make sequels. But believe it or not, he actually passed on both Too Fast, Too Furious and XX2 because he wanted to work on other projects instead. It wasn't until his return in 2009's Fast and Furious that really boosted his career to a completely new level. Since then, Diesel has starred in every Fast and Furious entry, with his most recent Fast X released in May 2023. He's also established himself as a major blockbuster franchise leading man by coming back for Riddick and 2017's XXX: The Return of Xander Cage. What The Last Witch Hunter was supposed to be. The Last Witch Hunter was intended to be another potential movie series for Diesel, where he plays an immortal hunter tracking down witches in modern-day New York. It definitely had franchise potential written all over it. However, the movie suffered from a really lukewarm box office release, which immediately put any sequel plans in serious doubt. Vin Diesel's social media teases. Now, here's where things get interesting. Vin Diesel has gotten fans excited about The Last Witch Hunter 2, with posts on social media about the movie. With nearly a decade passing since the first movie's debut, the action star recently teased the development of The Last Witch Hunter 2 in a nostalgic post on his official Instagram page. He posted a throwback photo of himself as Kaulder, and even included a cryptic quote suggesting more was on the way. Since the film premiered in 2015, Vin Diesel has honestly been the biggest champion of its sequel, and his post regarding The Last Witch Hunter 2 seemed to suggest the movie might be in development. The reality of sequel development. But here's the thing we need to be realistic about. Movie and TV projects are developed all the time that never actually get made, and The Last Witch Hunter 2 has a lot of strikes against it. Even though Diesel is absolutely a legitimate box office draw, sequels are rarely made to movies that flop both critically and commercially. Why a sequel faces major obstacles. The harsh reality is that The Last Witch Hunter had an 18% Rotten Tomatoes score and didn't perform well at the box office. While it's true that the movie has found some life on Netflix, where it has trended in the most watched categories and become something of a fan favorite, that doesn't necessarily translate to studio confidence in a big-budget sequel. Studios are typically very hesitant to greenlight sequels to films that were both critical and commercial disappointments, even when they have a star like Vin Diesel attached. What the cast situation looks like. If a sequel were to happen, the 2015 fantasy film did leave off on a positive note, so the bulk of the main cast could potentially return. Vin Diesel's return as Kaulder would obviously be a certainty. Honestly, the only way a sequel could even have a chance of succeeding would be through his name recognition, and his portrayal of the eponymous witch hunter was genuinely one of the first movie's saving graces. Michael Caine's Dolan 36th and Rose Leslie's Chloe both agreed to team up with Kaulder at the end of the film, so they'd be natural returns. However, whether these actors would actually be interested in coming back is another question entirely. There's also an intriguing plot thread with Julie Engelbrecht's Witch Queen, who was teased to still be alive when her heartbeat was heard among Kaulder's weapons at the end of the first movie. What the story could be. If The Last Witch Hunter 2 were to happen, it should continue following the saga of Kaulder while also expanding the fictional universe with additional characters and backstory. The biggest question that would need to be answered from the original movie is whether Kaulder would finally succeed in killing the Witch Queen. If this were to happen, he would finally get revenge for the curse that the Witch Queen placed on him, where he was forced to experience the infinite loss of his wife and daughter over and over again. But here's the catch. Kaulder would also be giving up his immortality in the process. The last witch hunter revealed that Kaulder would die if the Queen's heart stopped beating. So any sequel would have to figure out whether Kaulder's life could be separated from the fate of the Witch Queen's heart, which was last heard as part of Kaulder's weapon stash in his apartment at the end of the original movie. So where does this leave us? While Vin Diesel's social media activity has definitely gotten fans excited and hopeful, the reality is that The Last Witch Hunter 2 faces some pretty significant obstacles. The original film's poor critical reception and underwhelming box office performance make it a risky investment for studios, despite Diesel's star power and the movie's later success on streaming platforms. Until we see some concrete development news from actual studios or production companies, rather than just social media teases, I'd say we should probably manage our expectations about this sequel actually happening. Final thoughts. What do you think? Are you hoping The Last Witch Hunter 2 somehow gets made despite the odds, or do you think it's probably better left as a one-off? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this realistic breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more honest movie news and updates. I'll catch you in the next one.